while we're hanging out for a moment, I'm going to, oh, Shriti already has it. Shriti just put a link to today's meeting minutes in the Zoom chat. So we'll be going over those. Actually, Dudu, since I'm speaking with you, we want to make sure that you have access to the meeting minutes. So you can take notes or put topics in there as well. So if you don't have access, just say it. So. All right. Shriti, a quick audio check.
Sure.
Oh, yep, there you are.
We're good to go, actually.
All right. That's great.
I'll share my screen for now.
I can see it.
All right. Lee, do you want to start or?
No, please.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the Layer5 community call. This is the call of the week. If you're here, well, you made it.
You've arrived.
Yeah. All right. Let's begin right away. Before we start out with any of the big reminders or the big notifications, welcome Soham to the community. Do give us a short intro. I know you've given many short intros this week on a couple of calls, but do go ahead.
Thanks, Shriti. Hello, everyone. I'm Soham. I'm from India, and I'm currently in my junior year. I like front-end development, and I'm exploring GraphQL right now. I also like photography and football a lot. That's it, I guess.
The pigskin football, right? Not that soccer stuff, right?
Soccer, actually, not.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Dance isn't on this call, I suppose, so we can skip him and we'll harass him on Slack instead. Moving on, the next reminder can actually be bunched up with the first topic in the agenda today. And Nikhil might actually be a better person to introduce it. Nikhil, do you want to? Nikhil, you're not audible.
There's while we're waiting on Nikhil, actually, has Dudu introduced before? This might be her first time on the call.
Yeah, it's my first time. I'm Dudu. I'm working at Skyscanner, and I actually worked in Bluetooth Mesh previously in IoT research, and now we have cell structure also, and we have it service mesh with Istio. So I'm interested in what you're talking about, and yeah.
Nice, cool, very cool. Dudu, where are you physically located?
In Edinburgh.
Oh, okay. All right, nice. Yeah. Right.
That's it. Dudu, are you on Slack by perchance?
No, not right now. And I'm connecting from the phone, but I might be joined already, but I'm not active.
Perfect. I'll send you a link in chat. Do join us. Most of the conversation happens on there, and it's a great place to start out with. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
Nice to have
Nikhil,
you, Dudu.
is your audio working yet?
Yeah, so am I audible?
Yep, you are.
So yeah, Hello everyone. I will share my screen to give a quick overview of this site that we have currently, which is almost ready. Just few things are left. Okay, so it has been some time for which we have been working on our new site for the Layer5, which is currently hosted on Netlify as Layer5NG. It's built upon Gatsby and GraphQL for data manipulation purposes. And the home page most is the only page which I guess is not ready as of now. But almost all of the other pages are ready. You can see there is a bug right now, which was spotted a few days back by one of our contributors. But it needs some love from us to fix it and give it a tweak. Like we have a lot of new things. The designs are ready. Almost all of them are complete. But if any of you are interested in contributing to the site, to the front end part, we have a lot of issues open and we are planning to go live by this month end. We still have 3 days in our hand. So let's see if we can hit the target. Otherwise, yeah.
We're down to counting the hours, I think.
Exactly.
Soham, you said that you were digging into, well, I think GraphQL some, but also is React part of your focus?
Yeah, actually, I know a bit of React, and I am more than I am at an intermediate level with Vue.js. Basically, I built a full stack website with Vue.js as its front end and a backend API, which was exposed using GraphQL. So I'm more experienced with Vue.js, but yeah, React is also fun.
Nice. Oh, very good. So Nikhil, is there a call to action then for everyone here?
The call to action, which basically is to go through this site, go through this link, and go through all the pages and see if everything looks fine in all of your laptops or desktops you are using. And if at all you find any issues, hopefully you won't, because we have very great contributors who are working day and night to fix all the issues. So yeah, but please do your best to find any of them and report to us or in the Slack channel, which is websites, or you can open an GitHub issue and tag either of me, Tanuj, or Chash in the issue, so that we are aware that okay, the issue has been reported and we need to fix it. Please don't report any issues for the homepage as of now because that's still in progress. Other than that, all of them have been complete. So yeah, that's the first item. And other than that, we are open for contributions from all of you if you are inclined to do so.
That's awesome. To add to that a little bit, I'll say that there's been many of you have been working on a new version of the Layer5.io website, which is what for many months actually, and this is what Nikhil is currently sharing. I think it's without question that this new site will represent the works of the community much better. And sets us up on, well, we're shifting off of Jekyll for Layer5.io to Gatsby, which is React based. Hopefully this sets us up for many, to be able to support many more pages. And by pages, I mean things like, well, I don't know if Ruth is on, I don't know that she is, but Ruth, one of the meshmates in the community, she was just suggesting creating, well, expanding on the Layer5 community handbook, like the contributor handbook, or sort of creating one, because we've got a lot of introductory guides for welcoming newcomers into the community. welcoming new contributors, new users, helping folks get involved in the various projects that are going on. All of you are familiar with Meshery as the largest project, but there are, well, I have to go count. There's a number of other projects that are also active. Get Nighthawk, Service Mesh Performance, SMP. I shouldn't have started prattling them off because there's, well, one that was looked at yesterday, tentatively called Meshworks. There's MeshMap, which is a visual topology. We're using Cytoscape as a JavaScript framework there. There's been some exploration from Dhruv Patel, who's on the call, around the ability to drag and drop, bring in the draggable components and kind of a drag and drop user experience into Meshery itself. And in the time that Dhruv, that you've been exploring, there was a new drag and drop framework or toolkit that's React based that's been released. It looks pretty slick. And so I know that you're, well, speaking of projects, I know that you're focused on service mesh interface conformance. But after that project, maybe there's some draggable things to go explore again. I don't know. So anyway, point is, there's a lot of projects going on. I'm thankful that all of you have given time to this next generation version of the site, which is really important because it's one of the first places where someone would come to evaluate whether or not they want to use a project. They'll take a look at the site and see if it inspires confidence that these are real things, that there are, all of you behind it and supporting it. And so I think this site accomplishes that mission. But in order for us to kind of go live with it in 72 hours or whatever it is, there's an intense focus that needs to happen. We need to clean up some things. So if you're inclined, jump on in to this effort. Nikhil, thanks for this. This is good. The other thing too is there's, if you're familiar with Figma, I suspect half of us are and half of us aren't. Figma is a user experience, like a wireframing tool, a UX tool for doing design, not graphic design exactly, but website design, mobile design. There's an open Figma project that has all the designs for this next generation version of the site. And so no doubt, Nikhil will share that in the chat, but it's all over Slack and things. So all of you should be able to access it, comment on it, review some of the designs that have yet to be completed or implemented, and look at some of the existing designs that have been implemented. All your comments are welcome. So. Or if you want to try your hand at implementing one of the designs, great. If you want to try your hand at creating a design for a new page, like the community handbook or any of the pages, you're welcome to as well. So cool.
That would be fine. And I guess Shruti, you will have to take over the screen so that I can manage to.
All right. Thank you to the MeshMap of the Year for the really good intro.
Thank you.
All right. We can move on to Beneath if he's on the call.
Yes, Shruti. I'll be presenting my screen.
Sure, good.
Is this visible?
It is.
Yeah, so I'll be giving a brief overview on the progress of MeshMap. So as you can see,
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much for this, Vineeth. I didn't mean to interrupt. I figured there's a number of people here that probably haven't heard of MeshMap as a project before. And so I just in case you weren't going to give an overview, I encourage you to give it an overview.
MeshMap is a visual topology for your services and service meshes. So you can monitor all the services and all that through this. Yeah. So it offers you many what you can say. Many services like you can invoke a performance test through this and all that, and you can analyze the traffic through view Grafana charts and all that. Lee, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, there's a long roadmap for this visual topology, this project called MeshMap. The JavaScript framework that's being used is Cytoscape. Right now, the focus of feature development for it is from with a view or a read only. Well, not a read only. It's about visualizing and better understanding what's going on with your services on the mesh, and eventually there will be probably something of a designer interface such that you can, we were just talking about drag and drop a second ago, but a designer mode that you could switch into, visually design some changes or affect changes in the configuration of the mesh, maybe onboard services or remove a sidecar proxy, or you're seeing down below, there's a terminal, which is intended to, for the most part, it's intended to show logs. So if in the future, while this isn't a supported feature just yet, but in the future, if you were to click on a node, a service, that logs would start to stream from that service, that you could filter through those logs, maybe alert on those logs. And so there is just there, like I was saying before, there's a really long roadmap. Some of the functionality is, or some of the features are functional now. Vineeth, if you go back into the details pane on the right-hand side, one of the things between the details pane and the actions that that a user is able to invoke, some of the actions that you're seeing now have to do with managing the performance of your services, of your mesh. One of them has to deal with, service mesh interface conformance, or SMI conformance. Some of you are aware that Meshery is the tool that the tool that the SMI project uses to assess whether or not every participating service mesh is conformant to SMI specifications. So you, as a user, you can come here and invoke that test for your mesh. If you're running multiple meshes, there's consideration in the design of MeshMap to show you, your different meshes, to show you your different workloads running on those meshes, the ability to sort of zoom in and out. And Vineeth, I don't know if that's something you're able to demo right now, the ability to zoom to different levels.
Actually, that I removed that code for now.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. So okay,
makes sense. So there'll be kind of, I think there's.
I changed a bit, so you can't do that.
Got it. Something for everyone who's kind of watching Vineeth move through here, something for people to think about a little bit is, well, it's actually happening right here. So Vineeth is using his scroll wheel on his mouse to zoom in and out to, these are just vector graphics, so they scale well. At some point though, the behavior that Vineeth and the others that are working on this, the behavior that they're implementing is that at some point, if you scroll out far enough as a user, or if you scroll in far enough, that you will, your view will change. And you're seeing that happening a little bit as Vineeth scrolls all the way out. At some point, you just can't see all the details, like it's too small to make out. So at some point, it will automatically switch view from like a detailed service level view to more of a service mesh view overall. If you keep scrolling out to maybe like a multi-service mesh view, and if you keep scrolling out, maybe like a multi-cluster view or whatever those, there's a few different views that are kind of planned for, but that's part of the interaction. The ability to change these layouts is I'm assuming, Vineeth, is that working right now if you change the layouts of the, yeah. So these rearrange the structure of the, how the nodes and edges are interacting. So pretty early in this project. I don't know, I think soon, if you're subscribed to the Mesh Edge release, soon you'll probably be able to get, begin to play with sort of beta releases of MeshMap, and all of you are welcome to engage and contribute if you want, or provide feedback, or just use it, or not use it. Maybe it's junk, but we'll see. One of the things that I don't think that we showed, that you showed, Vineeth, is Anirudh, who I think is probably back now. He had, in one of his initial prototypes, demonstrated the ability to have a context menu, which is pretty cool. And so that's what you're seeing right now. So if you, you right click on a node and you'll get convenient access to actions that you might want to perform just on that. Well, in this case, just on that service. That might be invoking a performance test just for that service, just against the endpoint that service is exposing. So yeah, a lot of possibilities. I think it was Vineeth that was able to give an update on MeshMap maybe a month or 6 weeks or so ago. And so it's nice to bring it back out and get some feedback from folks.
Yeah. We were busy on our new Layer5 side, so couldn't work on this.
But I think one of the things we might be seeing is the, so if you've got Grafana or Prometheus deployed in your service mesh environment, Mesh will discover that those instances, allow you to connect to those instances. And Vineeth, I think you were showing if Mesh is connected to Grafana, for example, it will pull in, it will allow you to choose what Grafana boards you want to display, and you'll see metrics.
So it's not fully featured right now. It's just it just isn't per node. It's just there. That's it. It is not per node.
Gotcha. And so, but at some point you'll end up seeing a few panels, a few charts of metrics that the user will be able to kind of fill, like into, like based on the fact that they've highlighted a given service, a given node, or maybe a collection of services, that they would then just see statistics, metrics specific to those nodes. And so in this case, like MeshMap or Mesh at large is not, it's not trying to displace Grafana, rather just trying to augment and support people, users, give it, if they have an investment into Grafana and into the charts that they've maybe curated, the panels and boards that they've curated there, Mesh will read those and pull them in and let people use their existing boards and charts in an ongoing fashion. And so kind of neat, a little bit of a different approach than than just trying to, give you a link to Grafana. Like that's only so helpful. So
Other few updates, should we go on to that?
please.
Yeah, so this is currently the static data. We'll be finishing with the resolvers, and then we'll have the real data where you can view your services and all that. And we also have something called user preferences, through which you can have preferences set on the mesh map. You can show or hide edges and all that, show a zoom in level, all that. And there needs to be work done on displaying traffic, which we don't have right now. So that needs to be done. And also, if you want to contribute, it is not available right now. The meshmap branch is currently moved to private repos, and you won't be able to see meshmap branch right now. So this will be fetched from the remote component, it will be fetched from a remote component, which Mesh server provides you. Yeah.
Nice. Anybody have any questions or feedback for Beneath? Cool. Good. Well, at some point, Kiali will have to eat its heart out, I guess. But that's not today.
Yeah. It will be a long roadmap.
Cool. All right. Very good. Shruti, what do we have next?
Anirudh, you're up.
Yeah, sure. So I'll share my screen first.
Go ahead.
Okay. Where is that? Okay.
By the time Anirudh shares the screen, I'll give some context in the issue. So the Mesh docs currently does not support versioning, which simply means that you can't switch from one version of the docs to another. And the team that the documentation site is hosted on Jekyll with a team called Doxy that inherently does not support versioning, but we're trying to use a converted plugin for implementing this. And Anirudh will be explaining.
Okay, so is the right tab visible?
I'm sorry, which tab?
Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so basically this is documentation site. Currently it doesn't support versioning, and that's been a huge pain in the ass. And the main part here is because currently we are moving towards adding more features towards to Meshry, and we might deprecate the previous stuff, and you still need documentation for that. And so as many companies, they have a versioning. We are trying to introduce versioning. But what we are using now, we are using Jekyll, right?
Yep.
So because we are using Jekyll, and even in Jekyll, we are using a theme or flavor, you could say, that doesn't support versioning. So there are a few ways you could enable versioning. And after some research, like I finally found out two ways. One is you could build the site and store the build into different folders for each release, and that's the first approach. So build during release and store versions as folder. For every approach there's a pros and cons, and the good thing is the only good thing here is you have a understandable structure. So for you could actually check if for release 0.4.2 which documentation structure is, and how everything is, how every file is, and you don't have to look too much into it because you have all the files there. You don't need to switch branches.
or need to know how GitHub actually works. And yeah, versioning can be achieved. But the cons here is you have, like, just because you're creating so many replicas of for each versions, the storage size would put a dent in the budget, or at least it wouldn't be efficient. And that's the main con here. And then there's the second approach, that's we use preview deployments or branch deployments that's provided by both Vercel Netlify. And currently, I think, as I see the Meshry, currently we use Netlify, and Netlify also supports deploy context. And what this would do is this would use specific branches to deploy, and you can actually preview what that particular branch is using branch name .netlify whichever tag Meshry has, .com or anything that it uses. So the best part here is the structure here. You won't have multiple folders as how you had in the first approach, and each link is independent, right? So there is a base latest, which is the stable version of Meshry, and then you have, for each different release you would have a different URL. And what we would do is we would be switching URLs as you change versions, and you won't actually feel it just because everything would be done in line. And in case you need more context, so this is the link for versions JCal, which was by just right click, and he actually created a plugin that does the folder approach. And it's currently, like, he has some research material in case you want to delve into this further. And the final approach he could come up with is having each of these deployments in a folder, which is the best we can achieve, but we don't want this. It's too many files, too many duplicate folders. And the second thing is deploy context, the second approach. And that's basically, you have what we'll do is we'll have branch deploys. Each we could have each branch, or we could we'll figure out a way if we can actually have releases instead and do a release deploy every time. So on every push, you get something like, let's just say, currently this a demo, right? And so this main doc, this is my stable one, and I had many deploys. So let's just go to the first one. So this is this, and okay, so I didn't, yeah, preview deploy. So I have this. This is my first, the first initial commit, and this was and the other one was the latest, which is this preview deploy, and this is the current version, right? So we could actually find a way to persist this and not get these deleted and have versioning switch between these. This will help us further, but currently we need to look into pricing on how this works. So that's, these are two approaches I came up with. If you have any more approaches in mind or anything else, do let me know, or I'll just share this so you can add it to the doc itself. Okay, let's just keep
good research. Good research. That's nice. That's good. Any feedback for Anirudh? Any other either approaches or reflections on pros and cons?
I had just one thing. Like, there is a theme, I don't remember the name, which already supports versioning. So how much effort would it take to migrate to a new theme or implementing versioning on this current theme, if we compare both of them?
If you want to implement, if you're using approach 2, the work is literally almost nothing. And that's the main reason here is you just need to have a toolbar, or we just need to program a toolbar that has the map of each version with which preview deployment it has, right? And just putting the entire website inline is not a big thing, because you simply do an inline deployment. And approach 2, it wouldn't take much time. It would be simpler, but research, it'll take time to research. And for switching themes, I did look into it, but each theme has its own benefits. So if we switch, we'll have to look into what we are losing on this end and gaining on the other theme. So if you're gaining versioning there, we might have to shift some things, and it'll take time to research that either. We can have this, so we can have it on research. Let's just not put it on approaches just yet, and have it as research, because it'll still take time on getting that. Research. And let's just changing. Can you just name the theme which you were which has version? Like,
Yeah, read the docs.
Okay, are you talking about read the docs? That's
Read the
built
docs
on
is not
Python.
a Jekyll. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not a Jekyll.
it's not a Jekyll thing.
There are Jekyll themes which support versioning, though. A lot of them do, actually.
Okay.
Shriti, could you point some of those?
I'll set an example in the chat. I'll look one up.
Yeah, sure. I'll actually give edit permissions on this doc then.
Okay, I wasn't sure, like that wasn't a Jekyll one. So okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Actually, read the docs is on Python.
Oh,
as
okay.
far as I remember. So there are a few examples. We have Sphinx. So Sphinx is, again, I guess it's on Python, and read the docs is also on Python, and it supports Jekyll, but it's not Jekyll.
Lee, we don't want to switch to Sphinx or read the docs, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Searching is possible, but it would take a lot of time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if we can implement out in the current theme, then it would be better.
My initial suggestion was that switch to read the docs is something that supports out of the box versioning, because if we do anything with versioning, it'll take us time, as well as it would not be as perfect as the inbuilt ones. Right.
Yeah, the thing is the inbuilt ones, they're going to be done really similarly to approach number 1. And approach number 1 is what gets built into the other themes that do support versioning kind of out of the box for that version. Approach number 1 is probably the way to go. Like, hey, we don't in number 2, we don't have long-lived release branches today. We need to go back in time to create those, and that's possible because we've got release tags. We'll need to change the way that we do release channels, and the way that where people are trying to merge their PRs, those wouldn't go to master, those would go to a long-lived release branch that we would maintain, and that's possible. Those things are feasible. It is a somewhat decent sized change. The another approach here is to move to a different Jekyll theme that has versioning built in, like you guys were just talking about. To answer Nikhil's question, in my estimation, it's about the same amount of effort to move to a theme that has versioning as it is to retrofit the existing content with a version. And that's just to take the content itself, make it into a collection, like create the folders. So it's about, it's about the same either way. Given that, I would vote for just sticking with the same theme, because you end up working out a bunch of kinks and CSS and etc. The theme that we have now is fairly customized to incorporate some things that people have brought along about, like copying to clipboard or a special footer, different considerations for multi-language that's kind of coming through. And so, yeah, one of the cons on the first one, like the storage, it's of zero concern to us. Like it's very small footprint. and the community doesn't have to pay for it. It's just there on GitHub. It becomes pretty clear to understand as well when you go into the docs and there's versioned folders. Okay. So anyway, this is great research, Anirudh. I think either of the two that you've suggested will get the job done, and neither of the two cons are necessarily insurmountable or like aren't a little bit of work that can't be done to overcome them. If no one else has I'll put a +1 against approach 1 because for the reasons that I just said. But if other people have thoughts or suggestions or comments or alternative approaches.
Yeah, and for the second approach, the issue, if you want to use custom domains as base, so this is an optimization, but not, I wouldn't say it would be the best thing. So if you use a custom domain as base, you could persist the deployments, but that would take time because CNAME records take at least a minute to get updated, and these have to be done manually.
You'll also need to start to pay for the Netlify account, I assume, if you're going to use a custom domain.
You are currently you are doing deployments on docs.mesh or
Yeah, that's because Netlify isn't hosting them. I'm assuming that this means Netlify would host as well, because GitHub Pages is hosting the content now.
Yeah, maybe.
Something to check into. I'll bet you $5 that you've got to pay for custom domain management like that.
$5.
But on that,
well, actually fine.
Anybody else have feedback or comments?
I am just trying to capture what you're really doing, but are you running any experiments?
I am actually trying out using my own site, but I didn't actually do it right till now because I'm still getting on how the build happens here.
Okay.
So it's taking me time, but yeah, I'm trying.
I added a couple of links in the meeting minutes for anybody who wants to go either figure out the first method that Anirudh was talking about, or go check out an example Jekyll site that supports versioning.
I'll also put this doc in this case.
Nice work, Anirudh. It's good research.
And this.
On a related note, we've Alonso is on, and so I'm compelled to ask this: did we end up with a plan of action for multi-language support?
Alonso, I'll let you answer that one.
Hey, yeah, hi, good morning, or good afternoon, I mean. Well, kind of, because we are experimenting with the multi-language plugin and the order or the structure of the folders that has to be done to make it work. And because we are in that process yet, we haven't been able to get into the whole Measuringtl docs files and folders and stuff. But I think we're getting there, but I don't know if we could say, we may say that we have a plan that have a timeline and such, but I think it's not going to be a lot of days to make it work. But I'm still experimenting with it. I'm sorry. Yeah, first time getting into Jekyll and stuff, and it's very fun, but also kind of mysterious in some way.
Yeah, I agree. There is some mystery there with the Ruby and what are those called? Those macros? What are they called?
Front matter and such.
Yeah. Anyway, actually curious. Dudu, since you asked the question about the docs, are you familiar with Jekyll?
Yeah, I am a bit, but I was wondering if you're planning to use it in any ways to like do some experiments on Mesh itself other than build and stuff.
Good. That's what I thought you.
Yeah, and I will review if I can make any comment. I'll do.
Nice. So, good. Dudu, yeah, I kind of thought that's what you meant. Like, hey, are you gonna? And that's such a perfect question to ask, Dudu. That it's like, well, hey, maybe we should consider that a service mesh can help here, specifically around like sort of an approach toward version 2, or really either one. Like, yeah, there's as a matter of fact, what a kind of a nice way to cheat a little bit, and just have that redirection happening within the mesh.
Actually, the map previously showed was really interesting, and just this idea popped up if there will be any opportunity to combine experiments with visualization that the map you have.
Oh, yeah.
And for instance, create scenarios with the map.
Yeah.
For instance, to do some experiments on reliability and connectivity. It would be quite useful for owning service mesh, I think.
Does anyone else think the same way? Yeah. Totally.
Because
yeah.
I think service mesh is quite complicated, and visualization is making it quite simpler, at least in the focused area. And I think what you're doing is quite interesting with the topology visualization. And
True.
I think, for instance, if we could be able to create scenarios with topologies, like with topology mapping, just visual, and be able to run that experiments would be, I think, quite easy and.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Due to Drew, Vineeth, Anirudh, other folks that are working on it, like you guys, that should be affirming of some of the discussions that you've had in the past. Like, from my part, I totally agree, and I would expand on that a little bit to say, like, well, one, a number of different types of experiments. Like for some, depending upon context, experiments, people immediately go to, oh, you mean chaos engineering and experimenting there. And it's like, yes, and for sure. And also some other types of experiments, like some experiments around chaos engineering and really focused toward resiliency and understanding what happens when and if this scenario occurs and et cetera. Great, beautiful. There's a whole, like that's a, there's a whole project within there, right? In terms of like how much support you'd want to offer for that. And the nice thing is that same sort of feature functionality is extremely applicable to a whole set of other experiments. And Dudu, I don't know if you can, are you still on mobile? Like, can you see my air quotes?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. So the other types of experiments are, well, they can be like multiple other categories, actually, things toward answering questions around, well, optimization, or like things like, well, depending upon a few parameters that the user would identify and set, things like the anticipated load, or the SLA or the SLO, the error budget, or the number of nines that they desire for a given deployment, either in the entire mesh or just for that application. Like, what's the, can we run an experiment to help us identify what that is? Like, hey, how quickly should the circuit breaker, how sensitive should it be? How long should it stay out? What are the number
So
of
you can first observe your steady state, and then you can run some experiments to define your peak moments or like breaking points. I think it's
Totally. There's a, we'll have to send you a link to Get Nighthawk. There's a couple of, well, there's a few contributors that are not on the call today who I think would be all over your questions, because they are, well, they're doing research on this topic. So I'll try to be, well, we have 5 minutes left. So I guess this is, Shriti, we don't have any other topics, right? Do we, or?
Nope.
Okay,
You
cool.
continue.
So this is great.
Lee, just a quick point in here. So the deployment preview, they exist for lifetime.
Cool, but we don't want deployment previews. We want actual deployment. So thanks. This is good research, Anirudh. So there's a project called Get Nighthawk that, well, intends to help, or intends to have a sharp focus on Envoy's load generator, which you might be familiar with. It's called Nighthawk. And it has an upcoming capability around adaptive load control, which we're just on the forefront of engaging with a university and a professor, a few of his students, to do some academic research around those sorts of optimizations, like around saying, hey, I'd like to run an experiment so that the MeshMap or Meshry or Nighthawk, this combination of things, can tell me, hey, here's the inflection point by which, like, here's your desirable configuration based on your environment and your particulars that you're probably going to want to, we're going to, some of the questions that we're going to try to answer, and actually some of your feedback on what questions to answer would be really helpful. We're going to try to look at service mesh specific optimizations. I mean, you could look at an optimization or an experiment to say, well, how many, based on my resiliency criteria and the load that our production systems undergo, what should we have for a replica set count or a scale set? Like, okay, that's interesting, but it's also, sort of Kubernetes generic or Kubernetes general. Like, some more service mesh specific things are like, hey, what's the cost of 100% distributed trace sampling of distributed traces going to cost me here, given the profile that I need to maintain for latency for our users? We're not going to dip under 400 milliseconds per response, or whatever those things are. I think there's a lot of exciting, those are the types of questions we're going to look to try to empower users with to go answer in their own environment.
I will look. Okay.
But very good. Yeah. I'll try to follow up to point out to you some of the questions that we think we're going to answer. But yeah, it'd be really, I think your input would be really warmly received. Like, any amount of input, just especially if you think that studying or trying to answer some of the questions isn't really helpful. That would save folks a lot of time. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's cool. I love the suggestion about using the mesh to help with, like, solving the versioning problem. Like, yeah. Nice. Okay. Good deal. All right. Oh, yeah, there's one last little topic, I think. And that was just that I wanted to send out a thought, plant a seed in people's minds. I wanted to raise up Utkarsh Srivastava, as a potential Meshery maintainer. And so I just want to, so no decision or no voting or what have you, but I wanted to, for the community here, if you have comments or plus ones or negative ones or what have you to give, we'll provide a mechanism for that. And for the existing maintainers, we'll be sending around a nomination, and we'll all be talking about Utkarsh behind his back. So I just want to call that out here. Cool. All right. Then that would literally, like, there's like one other thing. Navendu, who had said he's not able to make this call. He's physically moving at the moment. He has called out. He's working on a set of new features in Measuringctl and Measuringcli to support using Measuringctl to provision Meshery into a Kubernetes cluster. So if you've used Measuringctl today, you'll notice that it will provision Meshery to your local Docker machine, Docker host. But we need to give users choice because some users want to deploy Meshery into Kubernetes cluster. And so he's laid out a number of issues to build that support. And so if you're, and he's looking for other contributors if people are interested there. So that's it for me.
All right, that's it for today, I suppose. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Thank you for presentations.
Nice.
Anytime.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Soham, Duru, for jumping in on the call. Duru, there's a link to Slack on the chat for you. Do join in.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Apart from that, that's it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Same time next week.
Bye.
Thanks, Srini. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, people.
Bye, guys.